essentially, this is the way I see it, is that she absolutely hates her. Blake was toxic. She was a narcissist in her life.
This subpoena, this cannot happen. You cannot see these messages.
Right now, if Taylor had one wish, it would be that she never met Blake.
Blake Lively is freaking out because the judge used Taylor Swift proof after she made one thing super clear. There's no forgiveness for backstabbing.
Taylor Swift wins again. New information trickles out in a TMZ article regarding her working with Justin Baldoni's side. Oh boy, case closed if you're Blake Lively on this one.
You don't get to be mean to the queen of pop and expect a friendship bracelet back. Taylor didn't say a word but still showed Blake's supposed blackmail like a boss. Calm, smart, and totally brutal.
I got to think of my son Friday morning about we would go bowling so hard. It was pretty emotional. We were thinking it, but the bad thing was I spent all this money on some of the best immigration lawyers.
You ever seen someone so confused that they think a court paper getting dropped is winning? Yeah, welcome to the sad self-made reality show of Blake Lively. While her hairspray sits not bought on Target shelves and her fake friendships fall apart faster than her skincare promises, Taylor Swift just pulled the coldest betrayal in Hollywood without even lifting a finger. That's right.
So the big news yesterday was that Justin Baldoni dropped the subpoena against Taylor Swift, and Blake Lively's team was celebrating it as a win.
Taylor didn't say a single word in public, didn't hold a news meeting, didn't run to the press like Blake's circus crew, and yet she totally destroyed Blake's victim story by just existing. This wasn't betrayal. This was smart destruction.
Whether Braun is actually actively involved is unclear. Ironically, he is personally represented not by Nathan but by Stephanie Jones.
Let's be clear, Taylor Swift didn't just switch sides. She quietly gave Justin Baldoni's legal team everything they needed. No camera flashes, no drama, just cold, smart cooperation.
Taylor Swift does not want to have to be deposed. She doesn't want to have her dirty laundry aired and all of her text messages read and all of that jazz. So she says, here's the email you guys need. Take it. Get me the F out of here.
And the best part, Blake didn't see it coming. She really thought Taylor, her so-called dragon, was going to breathe fire on command to save her from the legal mess she created. Turns out the only dragon Taylor was protecting was her billion-dollar empire, and rightfully so.
Now that Justin has withdrawn the subpoena sent to Taylor and her legal team after the firm rejected the amount of the unwarranted fishing expedition, etc., Lively's team was quick to reply with a statement and said that we are pleased Justin and the Wayfair parties have withdrawn their harassing subpoenas to Taylor Swift and her law firm.
Now you're going to hear Blake's group yell that the court paper was dropped and how that's proof Taylor's not involved. Please use your brain. The court paper was dropped because Taylor's side already gave them what they were looking for. The dirt's been delivered, just not through the courtroom.
Now others have started reporting on what we alluded to when this initially broke, because I told you guys, look, I still firmly believe it, and I'm hearing it more and more through sources and people I'm talking to. There's only 3 people that this source who told Justin's team that they were extorted could be Sheree, Taylor's manager publicist, or her dad, Scott, or her mom. Now I'm leaning more towards her parents more and more.
Now let's rewind a bit because this whole court paper game was one of the sloppiest moves Blake Lively has ever tried to spin into a power play, and that's saying a lot. On April 28th, Justin Baldoni's team gave a court paper to Venable LP. That's Taylor's law firm, not Taylor herself. So no, Swift wasn't being dragged into court by name, but her team was definitely being looked at closely.
As Taylor Swift is now being extorted and threatened with all these text messages to come out, that doesn't help her brand at all. And she's a very powerful business with a huge fan base.
And what happened next? Venable, of course, tried to stop the court paper by May 12th, claiming they weren't directly involved. Cute, except they didn't deny the actual accusations, which is kind of important, right?
Then on May 12th, 10 days later, Taylor Swift's law firm files to have the subpoena quashed. They're like, we don't want to be involved in this. Please get us, we shouldn't have to abide by this subpoena.
And then comes May 13th. Mr. and Mrs. Perfection TM jumped in with their own motion to block the same court paper. You know what that smells like. Panic sweat. If you're innocent, why block a court paper to a law firm that doesn't even represent you? Why get involved at all unless you're trying to stop something from coming out? And sure enough, a day later, Brian Friedman hit the courtroom with a letter so loaded it basically lit the entire case on fire.
Exactly what it says right here. They got what they wanted. Now, if they have proof that Taylor's lawyer was threatened, if that's all real, that will come out in the process. And they clearly wanted it out there to send a warning shot to Blake and Ryan, who think they're on the winning, and they're winning, but no. If they can prove.
Let me paint this for you. May 14th, Friedman's letter accuses Blake Lively, America's sweetheart on the outside, chaos gremlin on the inside, of witness tampering and evidence destruction.
Justin Baldoni's attorney, Brian Friedman, was subpoenaing Taylor Swift's lawyers for information, Taylor Swift as well, for information related to an extortion attempt they claim was happening by Blake Lively's lawyer and Blake Lively to Taylor Swift.
Specifically urging Taylor Swift to delete 10 years of texts. 10 years. That's not a typo. That's not just, oops, I said something shady once. That's a decade of private conversations that Blake supposedly wanted gone with the wind, or gone like her shampoo line's reputation. Why? Because those texts probably destroy every "I'm the victim" lie she's been feeding the media.
If they can prove that Taylor Swift team and lawyers, in fact, confirmed or gave them the evidence to show that they were asked not to do this, oh man, Blake, you are in so much trouble. So much trouble.
And if you thought that was messy, buckle up, because this next part is when Blake really starts digging her own grave and hands the shovel to her lawyer. Yes, her lawyer. The man supposedly called up Taylor's attorney and gave them a little friendly threat. Make a statement in support of Blake, he said, or else we release the private texts. That's not PR strategy. That's textbook forcing someone.
They will do literally anything to prevent Taylor Swift's text messages from being seen by the public. That's you and me. Why is that? Because Taylor Swift is worth $1.6 billion, my friends.
And you know what Taylor's lawyer did? Hung up on the spot. Didn't even entertain the mess. Didn't say, let me call you back. Just hit end call like he was hanging up on a scam call from a fake tax agent. That's how dirty the request was.
That Taylor Swift could try to quash the subpoena. That didn't happen. Instead, Justin Baldoni's attorney, Brian Friedman, pulled out from the subpoena. And now what we find out in this article is going to show the game plan moving forward.
Now here's where it gets even more ridiculous. February 14th, Valentine's Day of all days, Brian Friedman gets a call. Not a random anonymous tip, a voicemail from someone extremely close to Taylor. That's when it all came together. A 1-hour call, a complete rundown, everything laid out. The texts, the threats, the power plays.
Sources with direct knowledge tell us, TMZ, Baldoni's side dropped the subpoena after information was voluntarily provided to them. What?
And while Friedman didn't name the source publicly, it's heavily hinted to be Scott Swift. You know, Taylor's dad, the guy who doesn't speak to press, doesn't play games, and definitely doesn't watch his daughter get dragged through legal sewage without striking back.
Brian Friedman apparently delivered, as they said, well, we dropped the subpoena because we got all the information we needed. And, that's how you kind of, it's kind of like how a plea deal works out with prosecutors, where rather than, face going to trial and going to jail for 5 years, you do a plea deal, which maybe you get just probation for admitting to a lesser crime, right?
And guess what triggered Scott Swift's rage mode? The Super Bowl. Yep, apparently Blake lost her mind because Taylor wasn't spotted with her at the 2025 Super Bowl. That's it. That's the whole reason. In Blake's galaxy brain logic, not being seen with Taylor at a major event meant people might realize their friendship was fake.
She didn't say these words. This is my gathering. Is that she was a narcissist, and that over the years, there was all this stuff happening. It was chaotic being friends with her, and that it is just like a release.
So instead of dealing with the fact that maybe, just maybe, Taylor didn't want to be seen with a lawsuit magnet, Blake supposedly tried to force her into faking a friendship for the cameras. If Taylor refused, release the texts.
And that's a big word, voluntarily cooperating right there. So very, very interesting stuff. Here's what old Billy Ballbag Bush has to say.
Okay, some fantastic maneuvering here in the lively Baldoni situation.
That hair.
Brian Friedman withdrew his subpoenas of Taylor Swift, not because he had to, because he likely got what he needed already behind the scenes, possibly through a private negotiation or a cooperation deal. Scotch, who knows?
This isn't just messy. This is pathetic. This is Blake Lively having a complete PR breakdown and trying to drag a billion-dollar brand into her personal pity parade. You don't threaten someone like Taylor Swift. Not when she's worth $1.6 billion. Not when her concerts are boosting the GDP. Not when her silence speaks louder than your entire legal team's fake sob story.
And they're kind of freaking out here because their plan didn't work to send her away and say she bought a puppy with Travis Kelce. Leave her alone. She's off tour. She's tired. Didn't work. Like I said, not a normal response. Way too emotional. And what happened next, really in the media, was kind of a flash in the pan.
And what did Taylor do? She said nothing. She posted nothing. She simply let the facts speak. She let her team handle it quietly, professionally, and with more power than Blake could ever manufacture on a Vanity Fair cover. And now Blake's out here clinging to beauty mist bottles and expired friendships while the entire industry watches in silence because nobody wants to defend a bully dressed up as a victim.
And now she decided to launch a myth. I thought that the other day, in the middle of all this drama with Taylor Swift. It's the worst timing ever imaginable.
Blake Lively really thought she could gaslight the internet. Like, we don't have receipts, working eyes, and functioning brains. As soon as Justin Baldoni's team subpoenaed Taylor Swift, Blake's PR squad jumped into spin mode. But when that subpoena was quietly dropped, Blake celebrated like she'd won the war. Girl, this wasn't a win. It was Taylor silently nuking the friendship and walking away. Taylor's team made it very clear. She had zero involvement in Blake's mess. No casting, no endorsement, no vibes. And when Blake tried to drag Taylor into it by lying about casting help, Taylor said bye forever. Now Blake's drowning. Her $100 million brand, Blake Brown Beauty, tanked to $15 million. Target's furious. Sales are in free fall. She's ghosted from her own Instagram. And even her husband's friends are keeping their distance. Desperate, Blake pulled old tricks, feminist book shoutouts, pizza night throwbacks, and fake celeb support. But nobody's buying it. Literally, Blake lost Taylor, lost the public, and lost her brand. Call it karma or consequence, but the receipts are public and the internet never forgets. Drop your thoughts below. Are we watching a PR implosion in real time? Let's talk.